Hi, my name is Brandon Berve, and I work for the National Geospatial Technical Operations Center for the USGS as a cartographic applied researcher for the past 3 years. My main focus is on all things related to our digital US Topo digital map series. However, I also work on special mapping requests from time to time, along with multi-scale and visibility filter research. This presentation is going to be about how you can transition your existing Arcmap symbology to an Adobe Illustrator-based symbology. Some of the reasons why you may want to do this is it allows efficient design workflow. If anyone has made custom symbols in Arcmap's symbol selector window, they can attest how difficult and time-consuming it can be. Moving a line, a point left, right, up, down is simply not an efficient way to design symbols. Not only is it not efficient, it can be a headache and frustrating. Cohesive symbology throughout map symbols is another reason. These challenges within Arcmap can make it difficult to create a family of symbols that are cohesive between each other. Illustrator allows total freedom, easily allowing the user complete control over their symbol design. I did not find that you needed a graphic design background to go through this process. I personally do not have a graphic design background. I have a bachelor's degree in history and a master's degree in geography and applied geospatial sciences with limited experience in Illustrator. Simply taking a handful of Adobe's free tutorials can often be enough to make this switch. With time and experience, you will be more comfortable in the Illustrator environment and confident to design custom symbols for future projects. I also found it is a similar process whether you are working in Arcmap or ArcGIS Pro. So if you are transitioning in your work from Arcmap to ArcGIS Pro, your EMF files based from Illustrator will work. And more importantly, it allows custom symbology. Again, once you're comfortable in the Illustrator environment, creating custom symbols in Illustrator will be fun, easy, will save time, and hopefully reduce frustrations from designing symbols in Arcmap. There are probably many ways to transition your existing symbols from Arcmap to Illustrator. The following process are the steps that I took. The general workflow is to simply trace an existing symbol in Illustrator. This process allowed me to learn the software better since I don't have a graphic design background, and to modify existing symbols if needed. First, enlarge the symbol you want to trace in Arcmap. Usually something ridiculously large would do the trick. Most of the symbols I traced were enlarged to something around 400 points. This allows a large, hopefully clear image to recreate in Illustrator. The second step is to take a screen capture of your symbol. This is the US Topo seaplane symbol that will be coming onto our maps shortly. As you can see, it is a relatively complex symbol with multiple shapes. And it was made in Arcmap using the symbol selector window. I'm not sure how long it took my colleague to create this, but I'm sure it took many hours and came with frustration after frustration. Once you have a screen capture, we are now ready to start in Illustrator. We need to open a new artboard. I use a 200 by 200 pixel square for my point symbols, which is just over 2 by 2 inches. However, there are many sizes that would work. But because of the size of the symbols for maps, you don't need a very large artboard. Once your artboard is created, we're going to import the screen capture image of your symbol into your Illustrator artboard. Change the size of the image to basically fill the entire artboard, but remember to keep the ratio the same so the image isn't distorted. This can be easily done by holding the Shift key and dragging a corner anchor on your image. After this step is complete, I like to create a new layer and lock the layer with your screen captured image. That way, your symbol layer can't be inadvertently moved, and your new symbol will be on its own layer. You can also use multiple layers as you build your symbols. But at the end of the process, I like to group all my objects together, and place them in one layer, and this will make for an easy export to bring back into Arcmap. Now the fun part. Use the various tools within Illustrator to create your symbol. This usually consists of multiple circles, squares, rectangles, etc. to recreate your image. Most symbols are just a collection of simple shapes instead of intricate lines. For this symbol, for the seaplane symbol, I started with a blue circle as its base and made a slightly smaller white circle to place on top. The 4 blue knobs were simply squares that were copied from each other to keep them the same size. The little white slits that go around the blue circle are thin white triangles that have been copied, flipped, and placed by using a clock image to ensure the intervals are evenly spaced out. The anchor consists of circles, rectangles, and using the vertex tool to add curves when needed. Once you're done creating your symbol, like I said earlier, I like to group all my objects together within a single layer so that nothing can accidentally get moved. This is one of our more complex symbols on our US topo maps that required a bit more vertex editing, but the vast majority of the symbol comprises of multiple simple shapes. As you can see, the process was still relatively simple to work through. Once you're happy with your symbol, we are ready for export. Turn off the screen capture layer. The only layer we want to export is the image that you recreated in Illustrator. Go to File, Export, and Export As. Under the file type, choose Enhanced Meta File, EMF. Per Esri, the Windows Enhanced Meta File is the best format for inserting images as pictures in Arcmap. EMF files allow resizing of images in Arcmap without the loss of integrity or resolution, which you may see if you use a JPEG or a BMP format image. It also maintains transparency, which is needed. The Arcmap process for importing these EMF files is relatively simple and only consists of a few steps. Within your MXD, open the symbol selector window for the layer. This can be done by clicking on the symbol in the contents pane or by going through the layer properties and Symbology tab. Click Edit Symbol to open the symbol property editor. Choose Picture Marker Symbol from the Type dropdown. Click Picture button, then navigate and choose your EMF symbol file. As you can see in this image, again, this is our seaplane image. But it's the same image, it's the same process for any EMF file. So what are the benefits? Why make this transition? Arcmap already includes many high quality symbols, and you can download a number of styles if you need something else. However, if you're designing symbols in Arcmap, it is not an efficient process. You don't have complete control. Creating a cohesive family of symbols can be difficult, and your users, if you share your symbols, may have some fun issues. So let's talk about design efficiency. No more designing symbols in Arcmap. I think everyone can celebrate that. When I brought this idea to my supervisor, she was ecstatic. She has spent hours, days, weeks designing symbols in Arcmap and was shocked with how quickly I could recreate them in Illustrator. The larger workspace that Illustrator provides, along with the wide-ranging tools, simply allows greater efficiency. Your design space is no longer a very tiny window, making it difficult to design complex symbols. Secondly, it allows you to have complete design control. You are no longer restricted by what shapes, and lines are available in Arcmap. Having complete control allows you to create a unified set of symbols that feel cohesive throughout. You're able to create a symbol family. This can also give your map a unique feel and can separate it from others. And as I mentioned earlier, it will eliminate any font issues that you have if you are sharing your symbols with a colleague or someone outside of your organization. If you're using fonts to design symbols, such as the H's in our hospital symbol or the PO, your symbol may not translate when users use the symbol within Arcmap. They do not have that font on their machine. While this may not be an issue for everyone, we have gotten that feedback from some of our users. When I recreated our symbols for Yoast Topo that consists of letters, I just used simple shapes like rectangles and circles to create the font, and this eliminated any possible issue that this may have. Also, you can still add these symbols to a style file to easily share. But just be aware, if you do share these symbols with other colleagues, they won't be able to change the color. So what are the challenges? What challenges does having your symbols based in Illustrator? Like I just mentioned, the main problem I've seen is you are unable to change the color of the symbol in Arcmap. As cartographers, I think a lot of us have had this problem. What shade of red do I choose? The only solution is to change the color in Illustrator, re-export it, and import it back into Arcmap. And if you have to do this many times, it can get a bit tedious, but I still think it's a much more efficient way for custom symbology to design your symbols in Illustrator. And I'll discuss a possible solution, which is what I use on the next slide. Another issue that took me some time to get used to is you don't really get any feedback from any other map symbols or features. The nice thing about working in Illustrator is the size of the artboard and your ability to really dive into your symbol design by not being distracted by other map features or symbols. However, this can prevent you from getting immediate feedback with how your symbol interacts with other features and colors, right? We always want our symbols to feel part of the map. We want them to be cohesive. But this can be a challenge since you don't get that immediate feedback. It's hard to compare how your symbol will interact with other features because there are really no other features in your design workspace within Illustrator. You can't simply change the color to see how it's going to interact with other colors on your map. You can't simply change this. You can simply change the size, but if you tweak, part of your symbol, you're not getting that feedback. I always like to see how a certain color symbol shape interacts with the rest of the map. And Illustrator, sadly, just doesn't really allow this to happen. So how can you work through these challenges? This is how I generally like to work through these problems. I like to start my process in Arcmap. Symbolize features with a similar size and shape as to what you think your final symbol will look like. For example, if you're creating a circular symbol, use a similar size circle on the map to start. Same with square shaped symbols. Test different colors, different shades of red. Find out what color works in Arcmap. Let the colors interact with other features. Then, once you're happy with the color, bring those tested RGB numbers to Illustrator. Starting your process in Arcmap can help prevent the cyclical process of exporting, importing, seeing how your symbol interacts with other features, and then going back to Illustrator to make changes. More than likely, you will have to do this a few times to modify your symbol until you find a good solution. But if you start in Arcmap and test the different shapes, different colors, hopefully you won't have to do the cyclical process as often. So as you get more comfortable in Illustrator, you may want to start building symbols from scratch. This is where the benefit of Illustrator instead of Arcmap can be fully realized. Here are some tips that I keep at the forefront of my mind when designing custom symbols. I'm not going to talk about symbol design theory, but simply my general workflow for custom design. My last slide does include a couple articles that dive into design theory if anyone is interested. So the first one is building your symbols from the base can help keep your symbols simple. I generally like to work from the background to the foreground. Working in this direction allows you to build more complex symbols with simple shapes. Let's go through the steps I took for a work in progress botanical garden symbol. Let's start from the base. I started with the background, the color, and the leaves, a simple shape that I copied and repeated in a radial pattern. Now let's add the flower petals. Again, a simple shape that I repeated in a radial pattern. You'll notice I use the phrase simple shape throughout. Using simple shapes to design complex symbols is a practice that I always try and start with. Why make something more complex when you can use simple common shapes? Finally, I added a circle at the center, which could probably be a little bit larger. It does get lost a little bit when you make the symbol smaller. Again, this symbol is a work in progress, but you can see how using simple shapes, building from the base, can create a nice, generally nice symbol. Having a consistent design theme. Incorporating a consistent design theme helps create unity throughout the symbols and throughout the map. I'm always trying to think, how can the symbols engage with the user, convey what the feature is, complement my map, and be consistent across all symbols? Right? We don't want the symbols to look entirely different. We don't want the symbols to be clashing. We want cohesion. Let's create a family, a symbol family. Round edges or square edges. Round edges can often soften the symbol against the map, reducing the symbol's loudness. Maybe you want to focus on line thickness, keeping line thickness relatively the same for symbols that use outlines, like the botanical garden symbol shown earlier, can help create that cohesiveness and family, symbol family that we're looking for. Negative space between shapes or objects can also create cohesiveness. The previous slide had a lighthouse symbol, and this is an observatory symbol. Again, here's the lighthouse. Here's the observatory. They both have round objects with spaces between parts of the symbol. Repeating similar design techniques between symbols creates the cohesion we want. This is one that I have trouble with, is you have to remember how small most of the symbols are going to be when they're on the map. It's easy to get lost during the design process that these are going to be small. Working on such a large workspace, which Illustrator provides, you can easily start to add too much and unnecessary detail. Remember, the goal of a symbol is to communicate what the feature is to a viewer. We're trying to associate a cognitive understanding between a feature and the symbol. To do this, symbols do not have to or need to be detailed. Here's a symbol for a library, again, a work in progress, which communicates that well. It looks good at this size. Lines are clear and distinct. But the lines are probably too close together, and they get lost when the symbol is small. Removing one of the pages helps, but this could still be improved, or possibly increasing the line width of the page. This is similar to using negative space between objects that we discussed previously. If the spaces are not wide enough, they can get lost when the symbol is smaller. Just try to remember how small these symbols are actually going to be on a map and what the amount of detail should be added. Less is often more. Lastly, be careful with using multiple colors. This is true within one symbol, but is also relevant between all of your symbols for a map. We don't want every symbol to have a different base color. We don't want a Skittles map. For those who haven't heard of a Skittles map before, that's a reference that my cartography professor used to describe a map that looks like you spilled a bag of Skittles all over it by using a bunch of different colors in your symbols. It may look tasty, but it's not a great way to convey information. Having one base color and another symbol color is an easy way to incorporate a consistent design theme and can help create contrast between the base and the symbol. However, I have seen some quality maps that use a few base colors well to communicate different types of symbols, such as a blue base for a water feature or a red base for emergency features, etc. This is a railway station with 3 colors, green, black, and white. It looks fine at this size, but probably there are too many colors. If you can only keep the 2 colors, that is ideal. One for the base, one for the symbol. Changing the base color to a dark gray or black and making the rest of the symbol white helps visibility by increasing the contrast. Generally, like a lot of things, less is more for symbology design. So just wrapping up, here's a few things to remember. When exporting your symbol from Illustrator to bring into Arcmap, use EMF file type. This file type is preferred for importing images because it keeps sharpness when resizing and maintains transparency. Designing symbols in Illustrator allows efficient workflow and the ability to create cohesive suite of symbols. Again, for a single map, we want to create a family of symbols. No graphic design background is needed. Simply take some of Adobe's tutorials will give you enough skills to start. And I just took the free tutorials, and that gave me plenty of skills to kind of start tracing the symbols within Illustrator. I think starting by recreating some existing symbols will allow you to understand the Illustrator's interface and how you can build symbols with simple shapes. Once you're confident in this process, dive into creating your custom symbols. And when I'm working on custom symbols, I try to keep these 4 thoughts at the forefront of my mind. Build from the base. Work from the background to the foreground. Create or follow a design theme to create cohesiveness between symbols. Again, a symbol family. Repeat design techniques throughout your symbols, such as round edges, negative space between objects, and consistent line thickness. Remember how small these symbols will be on the map. Keep it simple and keep unnecessary detail away. Detail creates a cluttered and unclear symbol. Limit the colors. 2 colors is typically all you need for a successful symbol. Using consistent colors between symbols will create a design theme. If using more than one base color, make sure it's for a reason, like a blue base for water features or a red base for emergency features. Again, we don't want a Skittles map. While this presentation focused on Illustrator, I bet many may be wondering about open source programs such as Inkscape. I don't have a lot of experience with Inkscape, or other open source vector software, but it appears that exporting or saving as an EMF file type is supported by Inkscape. I can't talk about the process, but I imagine theoretically it would be similar to this process that I've shown. So that concludes this presentation on how to transfer existing Arcmap symbols to Adobe Illustrator symbols. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Here is my email, along with Adobe's Illustrator tutorial homepage and a couple of articles that discuss symbol theory that I like to reference. Thank you and enjoy the conference.